Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's On at Disney Plus, and welcome to this week's live Q&A. So big hello and welcome to everyone joining either live or catching up after the event. So each and every week I answer questions from my Patreon and YouTube channel members. You guys totally rock. You help support the channel, you help support the podcast, you support the website. It really does make a massive amount of difference being a member, and they've been able to submit questions in advance. Also, the YouTube channel members can join in right now in the live chat. You can see quite a few people already in the house. We've got Miles, we've got Knoxwave, we've got Keenan, we've got Bubba Trolling, we've got Caleb, we've got Matt, we've got Babak, we've got, I think, is that everyone? Keenan, so hello to all of you. You can also send in your super chats, and any super chats that come through will instantly, there'll be the next question that will be read. And again, a huge thank you to everyone that always contributes and supports. It really does, as I said, makes a massive difference. I'm less reliant on the algorithms. So I've got lots and lots of questions today. I've got quite a lot of them at the beginning with the same kind of question. But nevertheless, I've got lots of great stuff to jump into. So let's kind of just kick off really with the top story. So each and every, I'll kind of jump between the pre-done questions and the live ones. So feel free to jump in. So let's jump in because there's quite a few. Caleb asked, according to various outlets, Paramount Skydance is making a bid to acquire Warner Bros. What are your takeaways? Miles asked, what's your opinions on the plans? Keenan says Paramount is planning on purchasing Warner Bros. According to what do you think the merger should happen? Babak also asked pretty much a similar one, but I'm going to leave Babak's question to the next one. So the question is, what do I think of this? So I'm very much in the mindset that we're probably at a point where we're going to need to have some consolidation. I'd also like you guys to let me know in the comments what you think of it. I did do a poll as well, asking what you think it might make with Disney. 60% of you so far think it will make them more competitive. So let's just take a look first off from the Paramount Warner Bros. Side rather than from the Disney angle. So I think we're in a point where there's a lot of consolidation that needs to happen. There are too many streaming services. There are probably too many channels for how many people are watching. And so therefore, my dog's decided that she wants to play. But generally, I think there's this kind of thing of there is just too much. And I know some people are like, oh, we don't want less competition. The real competition now is coming from Netflix and Amazon and Apple. They have joined as that kind of the studio. If you think like we had 5 or 6 major studios, Apple, Netflix, and Amazon have kind of come in and kind of become the big new studios. And therefore, we're seeing some of the smaller ones struggling. Now, I have always felt that Warner Bros. Was picked up by Discovery with the full aim to strip it down and sell it for parts or sell it in a whole and get their money and get out. The whole business has been stripped down, scaled back, and it just feels like the whole point of David Zaslav getting hold of it was just to make some money by selling it. Now, apparently now there's going to be, maybe a bidding war, maybe Comcast. I mean, we've been speculating that Comcast might do something. I mean, they did get a load of money just for Hulu. But there is that element of it makes sense for one of the big boys to kind of go for it. I don't think Netflix will be interested. I don't think they're Amazon. I mean, they might have more of a play for it because they might feel like there's some assets there. But I think Paramount is going to get it. Now, the big reason is the guy that runs Paramount, the new owner, his dad literally just got named the world's richest man, beating out Elon Musk. This is a guy, I think he has like 400 plus trillion or billion, whatever it is. He can afford to buy Warner Brothers with basically the pocket change in his pocket. And he is giving his son carte blanche just to go enjoy the money. Enjoy it. I've made all this money. Just go and enjoy it and do what you need to with your business. And I actually kind of, in some ways, agree. You get to a point where, I mean, if you've got $400 billion, you might as well go, here, kids, have 50 billion. Go have fun. Just don't buy a Ferrari and wrap yourself around a pole. But nevertheless, we're at a point where this guy, he has got money to spend, and he knows that if he wants to compete with Disney and Comcast and Netflix, he is going to have to spend a lot of money. They recently did a deal to get the UFC. So I definitely think this is in the mindset that this purchase could happen. We've got a guy here that has got all the money behind him in the world to go and do what he needs to and dad is just going to pay for it. This is basically the AEW of wrestling, but now we've got it now in the movie world. And I think for that, Comcast is going to struggle, and I don't know if they'll be able to play the same thing that they did with Fox of trying to boost the price up to get more money out of it like they did before. But Skydance, you know, you can just go, oh yeah, how much would you like? Oh yeah, here you go. And apparently there would be a lot less regulatory issues with them buying Warner Brothers because they don't have any of the major like linear cable companies, so it'd be a lot easier for them to acquire. The combination of Warner Brothers and Paramount together would be a very, very, very big thing in terms of how many franchises they get. The combination of HBO Max along with Paramount Plus and Pluto and all the ones, and you know, he wants to bring them all together. That'll be much more compelling to go after Netflix, etc. It will allow them to be able to compete at another level. It does mean then, you know, would they go after theme park stuff more? Could they get into that? Who knows? If you've got all those franchises, it would allow them to be able to compete with Disney, etc. And then maybe allow them to go into more theme parks and do something a little bit different. I definitely feel like, from this point of view, I think it's probably going to happen. Daddy-O's got too much money that this thing could happen, and it's very, very likely to. And I think the mindset of, if you want to make a media company now and you've got all the money in the world, why not collect, you know, do the Thanos kind of collecting assets thing and do it? And I think Warner Brothers would be a great addition to Paramount. I think bringing together Max and Paramount Plus and everything together ultimately would help with some consolidation. It would mean more, you know, and also the Warner Brothers stuff would then have linear channels that they could put it out on. You know, there would be maybe some issues there with we are probably going to likely see some job cuts, but at the same time, I'm less inclined to think that there might be as many as there would be, say, for example, if Comcast brought Warner Brothers compared to Skydance, because I think they're going to want to scale up and get bigger. So I'm not quite thinking there's going to be as many sort of firings if they did it. Obviously, from the creative point of view, it might mean less movies, but the whole point of buying these studios is to get the lineage, but also to be able to have the output to be able to compete with Netflix, etc. So I definitely think it's a very, very strong possibility. Like I said, you've suddenly got the world's richest guy. His son has basically got a blank check to do what he wants. You know, go buy stuff. And I mean, if I was him right now and I was just brought to Paramount and I'm looking to scale up to become one of the biggest entertainment networks, I'd be going for Warner Bros. I just think Disney's in a situation they can't maybe afford it, but also I don't think they want the regulatory issues, and I think they don't necessarily need it. But Paramount and Warner Bros. Together would be a very powerful unit. So just looking here at some of Matt says Paramount buys Warner Bros. Will they rename their streams? I would imagine he would probably merge them, because we know we need some consolidation. So whether or not we see Warner Brothers or Max merge with Discovery again and then all into Paramount, he knows what he's trying to do. I definitely think that's much more of likely to. Matt also said what. I don't know if they could buy too much more. Bubba Trolling says, I think it's a good thing that Paramount have an interest in the whole company, because I think the whole reason Discovery bought it was to bundle it for. Oh, I 100% agree with you. Keenan says, I don't think there should be a merger. We've had enough mergers from companies. I would agree. You know, this whole idea of mergers, you know, I can get why people are against it. But I think the trouble is this is just a reality of now competing with mega corporations like Netflix and Amazon and Disney and Comcast, that the smaller ones are going to have to either combine together to be able to compete, or they're going to have to just go third party and just sell to whoever will pay them the most. I thought that's where Paramount might have gone, but if they go for Warner Brothers, I suddenly now put them in that they might not be doing that for a while. Kelly says there are too many streaming services on the market. There is, and I think you're going to start seeing this a lot more as people have less money and the streaming services continue to go up in price. People are going to start looking at how many streaming services they need and how many bundles they have. And I do think that is something that's going to happen. I'm sure we're all doing it, all looking at, do we need that? How many do we need? What ones do we need? And especially with the password crackdowns and the ad tiers. I mean, personally, now if I had a budget, I'd be like, right, okay, you've got £25 a month. You know, you get the ad-supported tier of Disney Plus, ad-supported tier of Netflix. I mean, at the minute, I've got Apple TV. So I just watched that new Denzel Washington movie this afternoon. That wasn't very good. Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's likely to happen. Let's just see if there's anyone. So Cena says, what do you think of the Paramount and Warner Bros. Merge? I think it's fundamentally, I think it makes business sense from a creative point of view, and from people working at the two companies. I understand why they'd be worried, but I do think it would make sense. Keenan says, I've been against the Fox Disney merger too. I think a lot of people were, because it was kind of like the first big one. There's also been a lot of stuff that happened with that merger that generally I do think Disney has drastically, they overpaid, and then they just seem to just, I don't know, the Disney side of it with the Fox purchase, it feels like it's just been a lot of bumbling and not quite working out what to do. I don't think they still seem to quite grasp what to do with 20th Century Studios, the movie studios. It's like Swiped coming out this month. That should have been out in cinemas. Searchlight, that just seems to be spent a lot of money for not getting a huge amount from them. Selling off half the assets, you know, the RSNs they had to sell off. Then they've sold off their stake in Sky. Then they sold off their stake in some video game companies. And then they've had to like outsource the Indian business. I don't know. It does feel like there was a lot of stuff they purchased, which they kind of was like, okay, 20th Television and ABC merged together, and I would probably say they're in a better position, but I don't know, it just feels a bit weird. Matt says, do you think Fox will survive the streaming wars? The only way that I think they'll do it is, I don't know if Tubi might be the way. I think the problem with Fox is very much reliant on its cable customers. And I think they are just going to just let that go. Maybe the new owner or the new son that's running it, Lachlan, he might have a different opinion on what to do. But I don't know. It still feels like they're just clinging to the cable system. Matt says, do you think the Fox one will survive in the streaming wars? I don't think so. And Matt also says, why isn't Disney using the Fox library? I really don't get why they aren't using some of those older movies. I don't know if it's just because they're waiting for the Hulu situation to be done, and then they're going to start leaning in on that when they can combine it and maybe feel like that's worth the while. It does feel like the Fox access they've not really been using it. I mean, all those classic movies from the 30s and the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and the 70s just don't seem to be being utilized. Knoxwave says, I'm tired of companies getting merged together. Yeah, I think we're going to see more of them. Miles says, do you think it will help streamline the operations? I think so. I think, like we've seen before, streamlining together will help with the marketing. It will help with the release schedules and everything. Let's just see if we can. I'm just going to try and keep on this topic. Keenan says, Warner Bros. Discovery wants to get rid of some of its linear channels. Could we see more live channels on HBO? Maybe. Matt also says, could we see Warner Bros. Sell similar stuff to other streamers? So, I think if they get brought out by Comcast or Paramount, then no. But I think had they stayed separate, they might have done. I mean, I do question how much value there was in HBO Max. Personally, I didn't really think they were putting out enough to warrant having a subscription. Bubak says, could Disney buy some of Warner Bros. Assets if Paramount tries to buy no, because I think Paramount want to go. They want all of it. It's all of it. That's what they want. Kelly says, to answer the question, Paramount merging isn't good for Disney since it means one less competitor. Competition is good for business since Disney is forced to innovate. I don't know if I would say it's the opposite, because I think if you've got a combined Warner Brothers and Paramount with new, a load of money behind it, that's going to make Disney be much more competitive, and they're going to have to keep fighting to make better movies. And I think a combination of Paramount and Warner Brothers is a really probably strong output. I don't know necessarily if it's less, but I think they're going to be coming in with much more gusto. Just seeing if there's anything here. Right, so I'm just going to move on to some other questions. So Babak also says, will the Paramount Warner Bros. Merger create more consolidation in the streaming world? 100%. I mean, the guy that just brought Paramount, he's already said that he plans on bringing together the tech of the different streaming services that they've got. He didn't necessarily say they're going to merge them, but I think we're going to see everything streamlined. And I would imagine if he goes for HBO, etc., it would make sense to incorporate all of that into one. If you want to go after Netflix and Amazon and Disney, you've got to combine. You can't have all these different streaming services. As I said, there's only so many people who are willing to subscribe to. Mahmoud says, when Disney chose the merger of Disney Plus and Hulu, or why did Disney choose the merger of Disney Plus and Hulu in 2026 instead of the end of 2025? My guess would be there might be some technical reasons. There could be some legal issues, but also I would imagine that what's happening now is where obviously the focus is on the ESPN launch that they've just had, and that's the key focus. And I imagine what they're going to start doing, and we're already really starting to see it, is we're going to see more and more blending of the lines between Hulu and Disney Plus, so that when they do it, everyone will be much more on board. Disney tends to like to, as I said before, the idea of if you had a hot pot and you put a frog in it, it will jump out if it's hot water. You put a frog in cold water and slowly boil it up, it won't move. And that, I think, is what it does with this one. Bubba Trolling says, do you think that Disney has any advantage over Netflix and Prime Video? I say sports and news. They definitely have that advantage, that I think they have the news, and obviously ESPN is a massive element of the sports. I do still think that Disney is scared and has been so used to having the income from ESPN that this whole ESPN add-on at like $30, whatever it is, still feels very much along the lines of they aren't quite willing to go all in on the sports side of things yet. We've seen some of the other streaming services kind of get burnt a little bit with spending too much money on sports and not getting the money back. Whether or not ESPN works in the US, who knows? But it'd be easier to bring ESPN into the full Disney Plus maybe in a couple of years' time than it would be right now, because I don't think they would be able to justify the price rise. And I think that's definitely a thing. Miles says it was recently announced that Mark Movenberg will be scoring Pixar's 30th feature Hoppers. He previously worked in cartoons. What are your thoughts on that development? Well, I mean, they must have picked him for a good reason. The fact that he's worked on some of the Pixar shorts, I think, is a good thing. Good little like warm up to it. And also, they need to give new composers a chance. They need to give them an opportunity to move into the next step, because if they don't do that, they're only going to be reliant on the same composers, and you want fresh blood, you want new people coming in. And I think that's where doing like the Disney Plus shorts and stuff like cartoons, it allows them to test the water. Disney can see how they're doing and kind of almost like it's like a, not necessarily it's like an apprentice thing, but they're not necessarily that kind of thing. But I think that's a good idea for them. Okay, we just got a super chat here from Derek. Thank you so much for your support. You really rock. What reasons for Skydance not to wait till the Warner Bros. Split into two companies to avoid their cable network division? I think they're going to buy both. I think I think at the end of the day, Paramount probably wants those. They want those cable assets. They want CNN. They want all the assets that they've got. And it makes sense to bring it all in. And they've obviously got their own linear network. It makes it stronger with everything together. And yeah, it would make sense maybe to try and grab it now while all the assets are together. Because I mean, if I was buying Warner Brothers Discovery, I'd want to have Discovery. I'd want to have CNN. I'd want to have all those brands in there, because you can incorporate like CNN into your streaming service. I mean, it would make total sense to do so. Let's just do some live chat ones now that aren't related to that one. Keenan says, again, Derek, thank you so much for that super chat. You are totally awesome with that. I really do appreciate the support. Keenan says, so Nintendo announced the Mario sequel is named Super Mario Galaxy. I don't know about you guys, but I just like the title because it should have been named Super Mario World. Something like that. I mean, I guess so. But I think Super Mario Galaxy, I mean, it could be a more interesting story. Take them up to space. There's nostalgia for the Galaxy. I mean, they're going to be re-releasing the 2 games on the Switch too. I don't know if I've actually played either of the Galaxy games. So I got rid of my Switch earlier this year, my Switch 1, because I realized it'd been sat under my desk or under my TV for a long time. So got a Mario amiibo just behind the camera here. But yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's an interesting thing. I think Super Mario World, I mean that does make sense, but then they could do that in the future. Maybe they don't want to cross over with the theme parks right now. That might be why. Babak says, should Disney add another podcast like the Marvel podcast onto Disney Plus? Personally, I think if you're going to do it, you might as well put all the podcasts that they make and put them all on Disney Plus. Put the Marvel podcast on there, put the ABC stuff. Just why not? Matt asked what streaming services will be around next year and what streaming services will be gone. I think most of them are still going to be around. I mean, I've been talking about Stars going for a long time and things like AMC Plus and Acorn and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I don't know what ones. I don't know if anything's on the verge of going. I don't know. I think it's the smaller ones that are more likely going to get picked up because I just don't see how they're viable. But like Hey You and all those kind of things. Kelly says to follow up on last week. So many people are cheesed off. That means there's enough to make lasagna. I know it's a bad joke, but I need to get it off my chest. Okay, I'm not quite sure what that is, but I like lasagna. Let's see what we've got. Keenan says, I guess Elon Musk's son seems well. Well, it's not Elon Musk's son, remember it. This is the other guy. This is the guy that owns Oracle. He's buying everything up. Elias says, politics might get to play with Warner Brothers Discovery. Also, Ellison is a Trump supporter, and Trump seems like regularly blast Roberts Comcast. They may wish they went for it during Biden. Yeah, I mean, like anything right now, everything is involved with politics, and you've got to grease the wheel to get things done by the looks of it at the minute. Barbatron says, do you think the people who don't like this deal will have an effect on the deal? Not at all. Us mortal humans have no impact on these deals. The only thing that matters is the money coming from the chief. That's the only thing that we're going to get. Let's see what else we got. Disney's also waiting on the fate of Fubo to see if that's approved. Yeah, I mean I think that's more of a way of them getting around that lawsuit that they brought in, and I think it would fix some stuff for them to offer that. Matt says, how long do you think Stars will last as a channel? I would 3 years. Kelly says, I do feel that the DOJ will force Paramount to divest some of its linear assets to approve the Warner Bros. Acquisition. I'm not sure. I don't think that's going to be the case because I think they will be able to prove to the DOJ that essentially this is a shrinking business and that it is no longer the fact that now more people are watching television on streaming than on linear. The power of linear is dropping day by day. It's getting just smaller and smaller each time. And I think the concept of we have to do these mergers to be able to compete, and that will be their different way of doing it. Ricardo says, hi, Roger, if the merger is approved between Warner Brothers and Paramount, it would only be after Warner Brothers Discovery splits the company into... Not necessarily. Yeah, because Warner Brothers would still own the other company. The owners, I think, they'd still be there. So that was it. Keenan says if there was a third Mario World movie, they could call it Super Mario World. Yeah. Ricardo says actually there's a report that Easton doesn't want to wait till Warner Brothers gets divided just to keep the company together. He doesn't want assets to be sold. Yeah, I think he just wants all of it because again, you get some rich brat. He's got billions of dollars from dad. Why would he? I don't think he's very good at sharing. I think he just gets what he wants. Barbara trying to say the truth of the Warner Bros. Split is no one offered to buy them. I think it's all just getting. Zaslav wants the money. He wants to get his paycheck and he wants to bugger off. Ricardo says that now there's another report of Zaslav apparently wanting a bidding war for what? Of course he does. He wants more money. That's all he wants. It seems he's called contracts from Netflix, Amazon, and Apple to make some offers. Yeah, I mean, wouldn't you? I mean, from Zaslav's point of view, you've got a guy that's going, I want that. Wouldn't you be like, hello everybody, do you want to make some bids? I'll just take the. Makes total sense from Zaslav's point of view. I don't think Apple wants it. I don't think Amazon. I just don't think that. I think they've reached a point with buying out MGM and everything else. I think they're probably at a point of going, do we need it? It's an asset. I mean, they could incorporate it in, and they might want it. I don't think Netflix wants anything to do with it. I mean, there is the other side as well. I just thought of this because Warner Brothers does actually make a lot of shows for Disney. The Bachelor, for example, and there's a lot of stuff that they make. So that could have an impact in the future on Disney. Elias says, splitting hairs concern, Elio will be on Disney Plus at 90 days instead of 100. I was hoping that they'll be stuck with 100 days. I think that's called get it on there as fast as you possibly can. I think they want to get that benefit and get that out the way and just move on. It's a shame. I mean, Elio's a fun film, but I mean, it ain't going to blow up Disney Plus. It might do it for a week, but I don't think it's going to become a firm favorite. Kind of remind me a little bit of Strange World a little bit, and I think it's going to have the same impact when it arrives on Disney Plus. Good first week, and then it'll just drip off. Zaslav says, I don't think Zaslav will agree with a merger deal with Paramount. I think the opposite. If he gets a big enough bonus, he'll be gone. Elias says, Ellison wants the ability to get rid of something if he wants to, or if he's told to, probably why he's going to go for before the split. That could be it. Let's see what else we've got here. Matt says, do you think Disney Plus will get a podcast collection? Probably not, because they're put in the extras collection, so I don't know if they would do that. Babak asks, with Paramount wanting to buy Warner Bros., do you think they'll become bigger than Disney? I don't think so. I think Disney have got more assets, plus they've got the theme parks and the cruise lines, and I think Disney have positioned themselves, they're years ahead of them. Keenan says, is the Halloween stream curated playlist going to return to Disney Plus next month? I would assume so. I mean, Halloween is one of the biggest drivers of viewership. Why they wouldn't do that, I don't know. If you were to ask, I would be like 99% chance it's going to happen. Keenan says, so I saw that the Rich Ellison show is being live streamed on Disney Plus every weekday, and Vibe checks Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Disney is getting a lot more serious with live streaming. Yeah, I mean, I think they've realized that sports, especially, is something that they want to get people in on. I think having them on Disney Plus as well, you can see where they are going with Disney Plus now. It's a general entertainment service. It's for everything, and it's cheap, easy television. It's also, I mean, I don't know necessarily if Vibe Check will be around for very long. Who knows what the viewership is like? I can't imagine it's that high. But the other one, I mean, if it's live streaming on YouTube and everything, well, I mean, why not put it there? Mamo says, why do you think Disney's still not changed the Disney Plus app in Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and the Middle East and Africa? So I'm guessing it was maybe interconnected with the purchase and the deal with Reliance in India. Whether or not it does change soon, they might obviously have to change everybody over, because I think in those countries they use the telephone number rather than a Disney ID. So they might have to move everybody over to a Disney ID. There might be some other issues. I don't know if maybe they don't want people being able to access stuff through the VPN or cheaper app. I'm surprised it hasn't happened already and the Disney Plus Hotstar brand disappears. But who's to say that couldn't happen any given day? I think that's it. But I think it's more just timing, and I don't necessarily know if it's a huge priority for them. Kelly says, what are your thoughts on the concept art for the Avengers ride at Hong Kong Disneyland as well as the Shanghai showcase? Yeah, so Shanghai is going to be getting a Spider-Man roller coaster and land, which looks cool. I think getting new concept art for the Avengers ride at Hong Kong is great. The Hong Kong area, so I'll just bring up. So this is a photograph that I took when I was in Hong Kong, Disneyland, about 5 years ago, just before the pandemic. And you can see here we had the Stark Expo and the Avengers show. So there was an Iron Man ride and an Ant-Man ride. Here's me with Iron Man. And yeah, it was that kind of thing of, I think getting a whole load of new content into Hong Kong is great. I would always recommend, if you are a Disney fan and you enjoy the theme parks and you haven't been to the ones in Asia, do have a look at it. If you've, I always say this to I would say this to any Disney fan. If you've been to Disneyland or Disney World and you've been there, I don't know, half a dozen times or a dozen times, and maybe you're getting a little bit like, oh, well, I've done this before, I don't know what it's doing, but I want to try something different. Go to another country, go to the one in Paris, go to the ones in Asia, experience something that you like, but with a new twist. And you can also then obviously go see Shanghai, Tokyo, go and visit that area as well. Get out of the parks, see the real thing. And for me personally, some of my favorite Disney trips have been ones away from like Orlando. So I would definitely recommend doing it. Yeah, here's me with Captain America in Shanghai, and also there because unfortunately in Shanghai there's not really they didn't really build any Marvel attractions. So you've got this one here where you can see like some of the suits, and I was like with Spider-Man, etc. But generally, like, it is that kind of thing of, it would just make sense. I think if you I see it a lot with people at Walt Disney World, especially here in the UK, is that it's like, oh, I'm going to Disney again. And like, well, yeah, but you could go somewhere else. I just saw Keenan said the problem with seeing Disney trips outside the US is they're really expensive. Yeah, but going to Disney is expensive anyway. I mean, again, for me, I have to go to another country to go to a Disney park anyway. There's no difference for me. It's cheaper for me to be able to get to Hong Kong and Shanghai than it is for me to get to California. And the price of like Walt Disney World, I mean, I'm not kidding. We were this close to going to Florida in a couple of weeks. We were looking at a last minute holiday, and we priced it up, and it was just going to be crazy. And we decided that we're going to put that off and go another time. I want to do another Disney cruise, but this time somewhere else. So in the end, we decided to do a little European cruise with a different company, because it was like, I mean, when I priced up against a Disney cruise, it was like double the price to go on a Disney cruise. And this is a last minute cheapy holiday. So we didn't, but I was this close. I priced up the Disney Dream Disney Dream trip, and a Disney Wish, and a Disney Treasure trip, and then a couple of days in Disney. And it was like, when I did all the math, it was like, whoa, yeah, no. Yeah, so going to Disney parks is expensive. But again, I would definitely suggest having a look. I think the biggest problem, I think, for Americans as well is guys don't get enough time off. So where you might go to like Walt Disney World or Disneyland for like a couple of days, for us here in the UK, we tend to go for like a 2-week trip to make it worthwhile. But I would definitely, go do the Asia parks. I can't wait to when Disneyland Abu Dhabi opens up. I want to go there. We literally, I was pricing up a holiday to Abu Dhabi for a couple of weeks' time, go to Ferrari World, Warner Brothers World, but it was just like, again, price wise, it was like, so yeah, and I was a bit like, shall we do it now, or shall we wait a few years and we'll do it? But yeah, so once Abu Dhabi Disneyland opens, I'm going to be going there and having a look at that one. Let's see what else we've got here. Miles says, with the recent launch of Disneyland companion video podcast, do you think they could expand this to cover the new theatrical films such as Tron, Zootopia, and Avatar? Maybe. I mean, again, all it is essentially is this is just marketing. The whole podcast thing, it's not there for content, it's there for advertising and marketing. So, I mean, it makes sense too if they're making something. It's, to me now, we're bordering on the video companion podcasts are essentially bonus features, advertising promotions and stuff. So that's the issue. Bubbuck says, what other shows could get a companion pass? I mean, I don't think it would be a bad thing if the Marvel or the Star Wars shows had them. But again, it's how much cost and how much they're making. Mamo says, when do you think Disney will move the rest of the content that they're only available on Hulu, since Disney both services will be merged in 2026? My gut would say that when they merge together, the contract will allow anything on Hulu onto Disney Plus, because that's then is Hulu, if that makes sense. So anything that's not on there at the minute would be allowed on there, because now Hulu has become Disney Plus. Does that make sense? So like the contract would probably be a lot more. There might also just be a case of some stuff when they merge might just disappear, and then there's not going to. But like, I think maybe it's some Comcast stuff or something. So we got a few more pre-done questions, and I'll just jump back into the live chat. Kevin says, I noticed in recent days Disney Plus did a slight UI upgrade where they added a live section to showcase that's live. Should they introduce a grid guide to make it easier? So that actually got added, I think, when they added the ESPN. That was the key thing there that they put in. I think with the amount of live sports on there, it makes sense for that live tab to be there. With the also like there being a daily live show, like that Rich Edison show and the ABC News stuff, it makes sense. I think the grid might be something that they introduce. Personally, I would not be at all surprised if the Hulu Plus Live TV option goes into this tab. That might be their way of getting around it and merging it in there, because we don't have it around the world. I mean, I don't know if they got it in Latin America, but we haven't got it here in the UK because we don't really get that many live stuff. Bubba Charlie says, when do you think Disney Plus will get the Hulu playlist? When it merges. When it merges. Matt says, what do you think of Paramount? That's a good idea or not? I think it's a good idea. I should have put that one a bit higher. Bubba says, do you think Disney will put the Hulu original brand on ABC shows outside of the United States? Maybe. I mean, we already get the Star original on things like let me just have a look. Let me just have a look here. See, come on, where are we going? I'm just opening up Disney Plus. Let's just bring you along for the guys bring you along for the show, so you can see what I'm looking at. Share screen. So, for example, here, I mean, most of the ABC stuff already has the Star logo, so I imagine that would become Hulu anyway. So if we go on Star Hub, Star that doesn't have a Star logo on it. I'm just trying to see if any of the ABC ones do. Doesn't look like it. I mean, I'm just looking here to see if any of the ABC shows have them on there or not. Let's go into the originals, see if they've got them there. See, like Shifting Gears doesn't have the Star logo on it, so that might be something. You might be onto something there. They might not do it, but Abbott Elementary has a Star original, and that's a ABC show. Let's see. Will Trent has got the Star logo on. Maybe. I mean, most High Potential doesn't. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit odd. I mean, maybe they will do it on there. I mean, I wouldn't be at all surprised if they do get slapped with the Hulu logo gets put on there, to be honest. Yeah, so I think that would make sense, wouldn't it? Right, okay, so that's all the pre-done questions. So now I'm going to jump into the live chat. Let's see, we've got Bones. Thank you very much for your super chat. Thank you so much for your support. After merger, he alone, CNN and CBS News, one will go. Yeah, that's definitely, I would imagine that's likely. But however, CNN is Americans, you'll have to answer that. So is CBS, that's a linear channel that's on free to air, isn't it? So is CBS News, is that a linear channel on free air, or is that a cable company? Yeah, they might have to merge them. That might be the one way of doing it. I don't know if I mean, personally, CNN is a global brand. I mean, I always think of like CNN every time I go on holiday. The only, usually the amount of holidays I've had where I'd be, in a hotel and the only channel in English would be CNN. I've had way too many holidays. That was in the days before we had the internet. Often not. Used to watch way too much CNN. And I do jump to CNN News. If I want like American specific news, I will go to there. I find CNN. I mean, ABC News, I do try and watch it. I find the ads, the live stream just painful with the amount of time it has between the news and it seems to spend more time on the ads than on it. Keenan says, did ABC News Live used to be linear or was it always part of a streaming network? I don't know. I do remember when I was on. We were on a Disney cruise in Alaska, last year, and ABC News was like on all the time. But is it a cable company? Cable one? I don't remember. Okay, so CBS News is a broadcast network, while CNN is cable. Yeah, that might be how they can get around it, because one's linear, one's kind of traditional. So that might be the way they can get around it. Bobatron says, do you think Disney doesn't have a cable news network for just a fast news channel is an issue for Disney? I don't think so. I think news channels are slowly dying off anyway. And I do think after this next presidential run, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because we saw it when Biden came in 2020. The cable news views dropped because Trump does bring in much more interest for news, and therefore there's a spike in viewership. And whether or not, when he's no longer in power, whether or not that drops back down again, I don't know. Ken also says, I noticed that the background color on Disney Plus got slightly dark. However, I did not bring it to attention since they're character. Yeah, I wasn't. I mean, I think they do keep messing about with it. They do keep playing with it. Keenan says, when Hulu merges with Disney Plus, the general entertainment for other studios except for Disney should leave Hulu. Well, when it leaves why should it leave? Why can't Disney licensing content from other studios is going to become the norm. We are going to get used to seeing, like, on Disney Plus now in the UK, we get like Transformers and the BBC shows and ITV shows, and that's kind of no different. And I actually think licensing movies and shows like that is a good way of like keeping the content and the homepage fresh. And like at the minute, again, if I just share like the UK, this is what the UK one we've got now. So if I bring that up, so like here on the front page, let's see here, we've got The Only Way is Essex is an ITV show, Long Lost Family. These are all licensed in. Downton Abbey, again, these are all licensed in movies and stuff that's come in. And I think that's Superstore. That's a licensed show. The 1% Club. It makes sense, I think, for Disney. We got a BBC show here in Race Across the World. But we've got all these different shows. I mean, why not kind of give us? I think having licensed content is a good thing. Personally, I think that's definitely a good thing. Knoxwave says, do you think Disneyland Abu Dhabi will be an indoor theme park with full air conditioning due to the extreme hot weather in the summer? Yeah, I think they're going to have it can't be built like it is in other countries, because I know when I was looking at the weather for like 2 weeks time, it's over 40 degrees. I mean, what's that? I don't know what that is in American numbers. But it's very, 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 very hot. And so therefore, whether or not they do what like Ferrari World and SeaWorld and have do where they maybe build some of the roller coasters and some of the attractions outside, so that brings it in. And I hope that they do have, because I've been watching a load of videos on the Warner Brothers, because again, we were trying to pick which holiday. I was like, oh, those theme parks in Abu Dhabi look really lovely. But like Warner Brothers, like it feels like that, that feels very much like an indoor theme park with the ceilings and stuff. And I imagine Disney's going to have to be a lot better at it than that, or because it did look a little bit cheap. I'm hoping they have more windows in there to kind of give more lights and to make it feel a bit higher and just make it feel a bit special. I mean, they can do different things of making it feel like a cave or something like that. But yeah, it's going to have to be indoors because just the heat there is just too crazy. Kelly says, I'm hoping Disneyland in Abu Dhabi, there's a cinema that hosts premieres for movies from Hollywood and Indian cinema, since Abu Dhabi and Disney is a major tourist attraction for people all over. Yeah, and also especially like Dubai, etc. It's a big stopover point to get to Asia. We had a few years ago, we went to Dubai, and we went to the water parks, and it was a really interesting place. Matt says, do you think there's any other news stations or around the world? I mean, you get like CNBC, Bloomberg. That's kind of a global one. I mean, Sky News, I don't know if you count that, and BBC. I mean, they broadcast globally all over the place. You can usually always watch the BBC News somewhere. Matt says, in the US, we like Family Matters and CSI. Yeah, those are good ones. Miles says, having licensed content is a good thing since it gives Disney Plus viewers more choice. 100% agree on that. I think it's good to have that licensed content. Kelly says, I agree with Miles. I use Disney Plus a lot when they're integrated into Hulu, since Hulu has lots of licensed movies. I think it's really good. And Keenan says, what Disney parks have you never been to? I can be quite glad to the fact that I can say I have been to them all. Over my, in like the last 30 years, I have managed to luckily go to all of the 6 resorts. I've been able to go to all of them. I've only been to Tokyo once. I've been to Shanghai twice, but when I went the first time, the park wasn't open. And the same thing with Hong Kong. So when I went Hong Kong the first time, the park wasn't there. So I am lucky enough that I have been to all 6 resorts around the world. I love it. I think it's a great way of seeing the world. I think it's I know when I went to Tokyo, I went to Tokyo for a week en route, and I was then going down to Australia for a month or 2 to drive around, to go on a backpacking trip through the outback in Australia. So I had a week in Japan before I went there because it was en route, and I'd always wanted to go to Japan, and I want to go back to Japan. I mean, we keep looking at trips there, and if we go back to Japan, I want to go have a few more days in Disney and go see some of the new attractions that have been, since it was probably 20 years since I was in Disneyland Tokyo. But yeah, I mean, I've been lucky enough. I've done a lot of travel, and I love Disney. And to me, it was always that thing of, if you go somewhere, you want to do it. I mean, I've been looking at, I want to do more cruises. And for me, it's that kind of thing of just see the world, just get out and see the world. And while I love going to Disneyland and going to Disney World, and I have been lucky enough that I've been able to go a few times, I also feel like I want to go see more of the world. I do blame Epcot for going around the world and they kind of settling it in on the fact of every country, and it's that thing of I did a lot of traveling. I did a lot of backpacking before I was married, and also then luckily my wife has since kind of discovered that she likes traveling just as much as I do. So this is why now we want to go to new places, new countries, and experience new things. So that's it. Aaliyah says, do you think Demon Slayer Infinity Castle's performance this weekend shocked Hollywood industry, a form of a wake-up call? I think it's good that new content is breaking through. I think it's good as well. I think it highlights that there's a lack of originality, and I think people are looking to Japan and anime for something original, something different, and I think it is a bit of a wake-up call. I don't know if it'll ever be mainstream, but I think you've got a new generation that's growing up that have been used to manga and anime. I think back to when I was a lad, when I was a teenager, I used to watch manga and anime, but it used to be on at like midnight on Channel 4, and I used to have to set my VCR to record it, and you'd have like 2-3 hours of anime, and it was subtitled. Whereas now you've got access to it so easily that's why it's becoming much more easier. I remember when, like my dad, he did a stopover in Tokyo when I was a kid on the way to a World Championships for the lifesaving that he used to be part of in New Zealand. And I remember he came back with me with a stack of like manga books. Couldn't read any of them, but I absolutely loved it. So I remember buying like Street Fighter manga comics, and So I was interested in this a long time, and I wouldn't say grew out of it, but I started watching less and less. And I watched the odd bit here and there, but I'm not very in on my anime. I'll be totally honest. I've not watched it properly for a while, but I can see how, I grew up on it, and now that's grown up. You've had generations coming through afterwards. Mars says, would you class A and Class B movies if you were the chairman? So how would I do it? I mean, I personally would be like, I don't think there's a problem of having A, B, and C class movies. So I would put like C class movies would be maybe like Searchlight Pictures and National Geographic movies. You put them in low budget, less than 10 million, I don't know, 10, 15 million, ones that you're putting out there for award ceremonies, putting out as content to get the money back so you can reinvest it. Then you've got like your B class movies, which are maybe like Tron, those kind of level. And then you've got your A class, which are your premium, you're doing all the promotion for it. So that's how I would do it. Kelly says, I've only been to Walt Disney World, would love to visit everything else, but tickets are expensive. Yeah, but I mean, for me, I think and we were looking the other day, I mean, a 14-day theme park pass for Walt Disney World now is like £600-700. And it just to go for the day was like 120 quid to get in. It was expensive. And Hong Kong was a fraction of that. So we stayed at what would probably refer to as the Grand Floridian level in Hong Kong Disneyland, and it was cheaper than the All Stars. And we stayed at there was the Explorers Lodge, which is a little bit like the Animal Lodge at Animal Kingdom, and again the prices were super cheap. So how could you afford to travel? I prioritized it. I don't drink, I don't smoke, especially before I was married. I used to work all the time. I mean, I literally, not just this, but I do other stuff as well. And yeah, I work 7 days a week. I just work. I'm a bit of a workaholic, but when I do, I love to travel, and that's what we always like to do. And I used to, I used to work all summer. 7 days a week, and then for the winter, I'd bugger off for a couple of months and just backpack. So I used to, try and do it on the cheap and stuff. So that was, again, I was on my own. But then with my wife, we prioritize, we always try and make sure we have a couple of holidays a year, because that's our priority. We go without stuff and we prioritize what we spend our money on. Sometimes you got to do cheaper holidays. Sometimes you do more expensive ones. You have different options. But again, it all comes down to choice. And I think that's the kind of thing of, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not someone that spends I don't spend a fortune. I always used to say this with my friends when I was younger. They'd be like, they'd go and have a weekend, they'd go out for the night, and they go, I just spent like 125 quid on getting out for the weekend. And I'm like, well, what did you do? I stayed in. And then they'll be like, well, why can you afford to go on holidays? I'm like, because I wasn't going out and drinking every weekend. So I think there's falls against. You've got to prioritize what you want to do. And also, I used to work. I used to work for it. And a lot of the trips and stuff I did, I tried to do on the cheap. Do tours as well. Like I did one around Australia, literally just sleeping on top of a van. I slept on top of a van on the roof for a month. And some real dives. Some real dives. Miles says, it's been a year since I first participated. Thanks for entertainment. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, and you always send in some really great questions. They really do get me thinking. Miles says, what BBFC certificate do you think Tron Ares will receive when it... probably a 12A. That'd be what I'd imagine. So Cine says, what do you think of the general entertainment will look like when Hulu merges with Disney Plus? I think fundamentally, for me, because I've been so used to how Star looks on Disney Plus, I'm not expecting any change. It's just going to look how it looks now. It's just that you're not going to have two subscriptions, and it will just be in Disney. So how it is on Disney Plus right now is how it's going to look. I think we've kind of at that point now where it's like I said, Star launched here nearly 4 years ago. Disney Plus is that's what it is, and I think that's definitely a thing really with that. Katie says Toonami on Cartoon Network was a massive game changer since it made anime more mainstream. That's it. I mean, that was because I kind of missed out on the Pokemon era when I remember having it on the Game Boy, but I was a little bit too old when it came out, and so therefore I didn't grow up on Pokemon in that same way. I was just saying, what you don't, it's like this, I was just going to mention here, this, Donald, move my head this way, this Donald Duck's, this came from, I picked this up while I was in Hong Kong, in Shanghai Disney, because they actually have a massive, great big inflatable Donald Duck on the lake right outside of the theme park. So that's where I got that one from. I don't know if you can quite see here. So the Spider-Man, I got that in Hong Kong at a Disneyland theme park attraction as well. And even this right here, this is the Disneyland Railroad Lego set. And you can't quite see it up here. I've got the I love the Disney parks. Matt says, I hope that Disney Plus next episodes on Disney Plus in other countries. I really hope that we do start seeing more of this, like we're seeing with High Potential. My gut reaction is that with them putting out fewer titles, it means now they are going to be able to get them subtitled and maybe, I don't necessarily dubbed, but I think they're going to be able to speed that process up, because if instead of putting out, I don't know, 100 titles a year, if they're only putting out 50 titles a year, that should, in my theory, mean that the subtitles and stuff have got better chance of coming through quicker. I'm just going to go. Baba Trolling says, what are your thoughts on WrestleMania 43 being in the Middle East? I think it's going to be interesting. For me, again, I do like the Saudi Arabia shows in terms of I can watch them live, because they're on in the evening in the UK. So it means that I can actually watch it live. Whereas for me, for a normal wrestling I would have to stay up till 5 o'clock in the morning to watch it. And I have done that numerous occasions. I don't do it as much anymore because I'm an old man. I did do it for WrestleMania, and I did feel it the day after. So for me, I like in the idea of doing it. I'm not going to lie. I did have a look to see how much flights and stuff are to Riyadh the other day. I did message my sister-in-law, because they went out to WrestleMania earlier this year. They've been to a couple of WrestleManias. I went out to WrestleManias a few years running back when it was WrestleMania 18, 19, and 20, 21. I was like 18, 19, 20 when those came out. I just got my first full-time job. I was living the dream when I was like just in my early 20s of just being like, I've got money. And so I've been lucky enough. I have been to WrestleMania, and yeah, I am toying with the idea of thinking, well, what's Saudi Arabia like? I don't know. Never been. Could be an interesting place to go and have a look at. I know there's lots of issues there we're going, and I know that people are against it, and I understand that. Counter argument at the minute is going to America is we've kind of got some of the same problems from us as an international person going. That's kind of how a lot of us are feeling with going to America. So there's not really much difference, to be honest, and I know it's probably not a good thing. Let's see what else we've got here. I'm just going to go up and see if I've missed anything here. I just want to see if I've missed any questions out. I'm just going down and seeing here if we've got any. It's a lot of questions, so I'm just trying to make out what we've got here, make sure I don't miss any. No, we did that one. Oh, here we go. Noxwave says, never got the chance to see Ely on the big screen, so looking forward to watching it on Disney. Yeah, I would 100% go for it. The minute I watch it when it comes on Disney Plus, because again, why not? You might enjoy it. Your kids, if you've got kids, you might like it. Also, that is another way of you can travel when you don't have kids. Ricardo says there is a report that some international Paramount originals that were retired from the service will be added to Disney Plus soon. Maybe. Again, we're seeing some of these platforms, they've found the loophole where they can license out old stuff, and it's helping with their like international quotas. Paramount and Warner Bros. Combined have a massive tape library. Disney doesn't have a major tape library, but they do have better streaming service compared to. I would say that I think Disney does have a really good library, especially from 20th Century Fox. It just hasn't utilized it yet. Matt says, "What do you think Pixar used to do to make? What do you think Pixar used to make better originals?" I think EVO is a prime example of a movie that got made in an era that the world is not in anymore, and they had to pivot, and so the movie kind of lost its soul a little bit. And I think there's also a problem of a lot of the movies that were being made and the shows that were being made weren't necessarily being thought of in a box office mainstream. It was almost sometimes a little bit, they leaned in a little bit too much on what they wanted to see than maybe what the audience wanted to see. And I think that's where some of the movies have struggled, because again, the world has, I mean, there's no doubt about it. The political landscape has really shifted over the last like 5 years. And you've got to imagine movies that are being made, that are coming out now, were put into like script work and all the rest of it many years ago. And I think some of them have kind of struggled to find a place. I think Pixar has put out some good movies, but I definitely feel like they kind of got a little bit lost in being more creative and more original, but that didn't relate to box office success. Because I think like Turning Red, and I mean, I really enjoyed Luca. I really enjoyed that movie. And that again, it just obviously didn't get released in cinemas, but I think it wasn't a big thing to be able to sell. I don't know. I think they've got to go back to trying to be brave, but at the same time they need to think about the mainstream audience and who their target audience is. And I think the target audience was kind of shifted, and I think we've seen a shift, and I think that's where it's all coming in. Aaliyah says, I don't think they expected an Encanto miracle, yet the principle of waiting 100 days for theatrical. Yeah, but Encanto, I think, was, again, we were in that kind of pandemic era, weren't we? So it was a little bit different. Noxwave says, it's because of Disney Plus and Middle East app was a Hotstar variant and it's not very good. Yeah, I think it definitely wasn't very good for it, was it? Kelly says, I'm aiming to visit Tokyo Disneyland, but I need to save money and build stamina since the flight to Japan is super long. Got to be strong enough to enjoy it. And yeah, that's the problem with flights to like Tokyo, etc. I mean, I remember flying to like Auckland, and it was a 13-hour flights back to back. And that was hard. That was really hard to do. It'd be a lot harder for me to do now than I was when I was 20 years younger. But yeah, it does take into consideration. I think also, and I think again, there is a fundamental difference in like how Americans travel to how like we do here in Europe. Keenan says international flights are really expensive. They are, but it's that kind of catch-22 of, I mean, some of the prices I've seen for your domestic flights, what gets me with domestic flights in the US is all the changes you have to do and how much time you waste flying between all these different hubs and stuff. I mean, I think maybe for me, if I'm going to use like London Heathrow, it's a central hub, so I will tend to fly. I mean, I knew when I flew to Cusco in Peru, we had to do like 5 flights to get there. And the nightmare, like London to Madrid and Madrid to Panama and Panama to Guatemala City and Guatemala City to Lima and then Lima to Cusco. It was a nightmare. And internal flights in the US are very different. But I think, again, it's international holiday, flights do cost money, but it's that thing of if you prioritize it and you work for it, and there's that thing of once you get a taste for it, that's the trouble for me with that. I've gone fuzzy again. Problem with seeing Disney trips outside is they are very, but it's catch-22, isn't it? Of it, Disney parks are just expensive, full stop. They are. And that's why, like, again, why we were looking at it for like a last minute one. I was like, I did say, I said the cost of getting to Florida and staying in Florida for a week, for me, it's actually cheaper to go to Florida for a week than it is to go to Spain or Greece, and they're much closer. The problem is, for going to Florida for the week isn't the fact of the accommodation and the flight. It's the tickets and the food and the expense when you're there, because it's so expensive when you get there. That's the problem. It's not this. I always say I can get to Florida really cheap. It's just the money it costs when it goes. I know when we went to Vegas like 2-3 years ago, I mean, it was so expensive, like £9 for a bottle of water. It was ridiculous. And it's kind of put, I mean, yeah, like you said, we did Alaska last year, but the cost of it has put us off going to America. Let's see what we've got here. Ricardo says, internationally, the ABC and former Fox shows don't have the logo on Disney Plus. Most likely in the US, they would stop logos. Yeah, I would imagine we're going to see more of that. Let's see what we've got here. What is your favorite Disney resort park? I mean, I think Walt Disney World Florida is definitely the fact that you've got 4 theme parks, Disney Springs, and you've got the water parks does make that extremely hard to beat. And it is the one that I will naturally compare them to. For me, Walt Disney World is the one where you can go and have a holiday and you can not even leave the bubble. You can go in and you're into the Disney bubble and you've got all the parks. The water parks are fantastic there as well. So I think in terms of a resort, Walt Disney World is hard to beat. In terms of what's my favorite theme park out of all of them, I think for me, like Disneyland in California is great, but I think I probably would say, again, the Magic Kingdom was the very first in Florida, was the very first one I ever went to. While I love Paris, it's just not the same. But yeah, I would think for me the Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World is like, if I could go to one and only have one, if I could only go to one part, that would be the one. Kelly says, speaking of prices, does Disney fans throw temper tantrums over park prices going up? I know wrestling fans are throwing tantrums at TKO at making WWE premium events a premium. They are getting very, very expensive. I mean, I know when I went to see WWE a few weeks ago in Cardiff, it was like £150 for my ticket. It was very expensive. I know my sister and brother-in-laws, they went to WrestleMania this year in Vegas, and the price has, and they went like, they've been going almost like every other year, depending on where it is, and they've said that this year was the first time they actually waited to literally the night before and brought the tickets off, because they were hoping they were going to be able to get cheaper tickets. I mean, I was a bit like, I wouldn't fly all the way to Vegas and not have the tickets. I remember nearly having a panic attack of like when I was in Seattle and had to pick up my WrestleMania tickets in person that will call. I was so scared that they weren't going to be there. But it's definitely, the price has just gone crazy. I know when I was looking at Clash in Paris, those are really expensive. I don't know why I'm struggling to get me in spring today. Because to be honest, it's like it's just as easy to get to Paris as it is for me to get to London sometime. Why am we not focusing in? Come on, focus. There we go. But the price of it, and I was a bit like, because AEW are doing a show up in Cardiff in December, and I'm like, tickets are a lot cheaper, but I'm like, do you want to go see any AWW? Let's see what else we've got. Bubba Trolling says, do you think Disney will make Hulu original movies in the future? I think we are still going to get some, but I think we're probably going to see less of them. Knoxway says, what do you think of Alien Earth? I'm planning on watching it soon. Do I have to watch all of Alien? You don't have to watch all of the Alien movies. I think it might help if you've seen I would say if you've not watched any of it, I would probably say watch Alien and Aliens. I wouldn't bother about Alien 3. I wouldn't worry about Alien Resurrection. The Covenant, I don't think it really matters. I think personally, if you just watch Alien, that would probably be enough. I am absolutely loving Alien Earth. It's so creepy. The sheep, the eyeball, it's weird. I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving this show. Can't wait to watch it on a Wednesday when it comes out. Absolutely loving it. Absolutely loving Alien Earth. But we're trying to say, do you think Disney Plus is more like ABC than the Disney Channel? Yeah, I would say so. It is now. It does feel that way. Elio says, what's the different Pixar? With the different Pixar era you're describing, i.e. Disney Corp indicating to them that box office doesn't matter, only awards and diversity, kudos. Though now Disney Corp is saying money and quality. I think they got a little bit carried away. And I think the world was going in a different direction and they were trying to keep up with it. And I think most of the studios maybe went a little bit too far to one side and then kind of realized that the world hadn't really gone with them. Miles, thank you so much for your super chat. Do you think the second trailer of Zootopia 2 would debut with Tron Ares? It would make sense to. I mean, that would be only about a month away. That would make sense to me to do that. Matt says, what do you think of the new season of Only Murders in the Building? I'm not going to lie, I haven't watched it yet. I haven't started watching it. It's a bit like, I felt a little bit, I haven't had that urge to watch it. I don't know why. It's a bit like the novelty's worn off now of it. I know I've got to watch it, but I'm not in a rush to watch it. Kelly said he did enjoy the season premiere, was impressed with the flashback episode of how they de-aged Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. Ooh. Kelly says, I get the feeling of unhappiness from wrestling fans. It's beyond the ring product since the cost of living is a legitimate concern and the US economy is heading into freefall. That is the biggest problem. I mean, I know, like when I was at wrestling, I met up with a mate of mine who I play Warhammer with. Literally, I had a text from him going, "Are you in Cardiff?" It's like he saw you as you walked by, so I caught up with him, and they only bought their ticket last minute when it got cut in price. He said because it was so expensive. But there's no doubt about it. They are pricing to go to these events is getting more and more expensive, and this whole thing of the cost of living. I mean, it's been a big thing here in the UK. The cost of living crisis, what they call it, has been around for a couple of years. It's not easing up. Everything is getting more and more expensive. Everything is just getting expensive. And I know I see a lot of Americans talking about, the cost of living, and it's like, we're all feeling that. Every country is feeling it. The price of everything has been going up, and some countries are feeling it more than others, but the price generally of everything is going up. Knoxwave says he's enjoying the 5th season. I just haven't had a chance to catch up. Miles says, do you think the second trailer for Hoppers will debut with Tron Ares? I would say more than likely Zootopia. I would say Zootopia would make more sense. I don't think Tron is the prime audience that they're going for. Keenan says, the first day I went to Disney World was Disney Springs, second day at Hollywood Studios, third day at Epcot, fourth day at Magic Kingdom, and last day Animal Kingdom. Favorite attraction is Hollywood Studios. I found like Hollywood Studios has got some great stuff there, but I don't think it's quite what it used to be. It's interesting that you went to Hollywood Studios first. Maybe that's why you liked it more. For us, you've got to go to Magic Kingdom on day one. You got it, and usually we go back because the trouble is for us we get jet lag, so we can't do the night. You can't do the fireworks for a couple of days because you're too tired. But yeah, Epcot is one of my. I do. It's actually hard to pick between all of them. Let's see what we've got here. Have I caught up on everyone's questions? Have I managed to catch up on everyone's questions? Okay. Kate says it made sense. De-age Selena Gomez since it was showing her to be 21 and she's 33. How the aging was far more impressive. Yeah, they're definitely using it. There's a lot of them. I do wonder if this is going to be the last season. I kind of hope it is. You know, they're kind of getting on a little bit. I would like them to kind of be able to wrap that up. Miles also said Zootopia 2 would be perfect time. Yeah, it would make sense. Right. Okay. So I think I've got everyone's questions. I'm going to do the last call for any last minute questions before I wrap up today's show. Kind of went all over the place. We had like lots of Disney park stuff, traveling, Paramount, all kinds of bits and pieces. So that was a lot of fun. Next week we'll be doing another. Oh yeah, they've got the poll results. Let's see that. Competitive was 54%, 17% for worried, 10% for aggressive, and 18% says no impact. I think most people are much more in the line of it's going to make Disney better. Also, top fans. So Derek, you are number 1. So thank you again for your super chat. Miles, you're in at number 2. Kelly at number 3. Bubba Trolling at number 4. And Keenan is number 5. So again, next week I will be doing another live Q&A. That'll be the last one for the month. There won't be one the week after. I'm going to be on vacation, so I'm going to have a week off. But yeah, so again, I'm just letting you see if any more comes in. So I said next week will be another live Q&A, so keep a lookout for questions, and then there'll be a week off because, as I said, I'm going to have a vacation and do that. So on that note, guys, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys next week. Keep a lookout for videos throughout the week. Go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Like, follow, and subscribe, and see you later. Tally ho. Toodaloo.